Hi, I'm Tom.
And I'm Ted. You're welcome to listen to my response to his question.
You know, Ted, you and I have been friends for a long time, since childhood.
That's right.
Listen, I have something I want to talk about, something I'm curious about.
Of course. What is it, Tom?
I'm curious. Can you prove that God exists?
Are you asking me to persuade you to believe? That's something only God can do. But I can show you that faith in God is reasonable.
All right, I'm listening. I won't say I'm open, but I'm at least curious.
I believe that God exists because the Bible says so again and again. In fact, I can't conceive of the world apart from God. Everywhere I look, I see God's handiwork and power. Can I give you a brief example from the Bible?
Go ahead. You're already boring me, but I'm listening.
The Bible explains why you feel curious about God. It says that God put eternity into man's heart, and so we have an innate sense of spirituality.
How poetic. If that's the best you can do, you're no better than the crazy preachers on TV. You're asking me to believe what is not reasonable.
I agree that there's a lot of craziness on TV, but as a Christian, believing in God is very reasonable, like breathing.
But I think all this talk about God is ridiculous.
Yes, but you believe it's ridiculous because you're committed to intellectual autonomy. You think you're neutral, but you're not.
So?
You should recognize that it takes a lot of faith to be an atheist. Have you ever been everywhere in the universe at every moment, and then outside the universe looking for God? You can't be certain there's no God. You'd need an infinite mind even to deny an infinite God.
Clever. All right, go on.
There are all kinds of things we accept on faith, like the air we breathe, or love, or values. So you do have faith, and the only question is, what or who should you believe in?
Very clever. Are you saying that I'm really a secret believer in God?
Well, that's what the Bible says. The problem of God's existence is not whether we know God, but the failure to acknowledge what we already do know about God.
Now that's something I've never thought of before.
You said that belief in God is ridiculous. It seems you're hostile with God.
Yes, so what?
Well, when did you stop believing and why?
There you go again, saying that I'm a closet believer. But since we're being honest, I embraced atheism because there's so much evil in the world.
So, you decided that God doesn't deserve your faith because there's so much suffering.
I suppose so.
But how do you know that God doesn't have valid reasons for evil in the world?
It's obvious. This world is messed up.
I agree. But how can you make this value judgment as an atheist?
It just seems right to me.
Tom, your worldview doesn't permit you to make any absolute claim about the universe. You have no transcendent reference point. You can't even say that something is evil or wrong.
What do you mean?
Listen, where did you really get the idea that suffering and evil are unjust?
Like I said, it's obvious that evil is wrong and not normal.
But where did you get that standard? You can only judge suffering as universally wrong if you're using a higher standard than the world. Tom, if there's no God, you have no reason at all to be angry with evil in the world. Bad things happen by chance in a materialistic worldview.
Okay, I think I see your point.
Well, and this is even more important, your closet theism allows you to have faith in God and His standards even while you deny that same God.
Wow, you've done it again. You claim that I'm a secret believer.
One more thing. Would you place yourself in my position for the sake of argument?
Sure.
You've said that there's no God. Define God for me.
Well, the traditional definition says that God is absolute, all-powerful, all-knowing, good.
Okay. For me, proving that this God exists is like arguing for or against air. All the while we argue, we're breathing that same air. Or proving God's existence is like arguing about the existence of water while the fish are swimming. Or, for example, proving that God exists is like walking on the floor of your house. You simply presume that there are beams that support the floor. You can't see them, but you place your trust in them. Faith in God is like that.
I've never thought of that before.
So, while we argue about atheism, we presuppose logic, morals, and the uniformity of nature. We're assuming the conditions for communication, which the Bible explains, but which your worldview can't. You're using Christian theism to prove atheism. You're relying upon God to deny God's existence.
If what you're saying is true, and I'm not admitting that at all, then that's life-changing.
I agree that it's indeed life-changing.
Well, you've given me a lot to think about.
I hope you'll consider in whom you should put your faith and think about Jesus Christ seriously.
Well, the question of Jesus is another theme for another day.
I look forward to it.
I'm sure you do. You'll probably try to convince me that I really believe in Jesus also.
You're right, I probably will.